Hello, everyone who's joining early. Let's give it a minute or so for everyone to turn up as they should. By the way, for the people who are sort of already here, can you just let me know whether you can hear and see me okay? It's very important that we're not having a webinar where literally no one else can hear us apart from the panel. So let me know in the chat whether you can hear, see. Yes. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Tabitha. Excellent stuff. Oh, yeah, by the way, just to let you know, this is a Zoom webinar. So what will happen is when you're on chat, it will default to host and panelists, which basically means no one else can see your chat. We don't like that. So make sure you default it to everyone. So whatever you say goes to everyone, because we want this to be as transparent as possible as a conversation. So thank you, everyone who's commented on there. Of course, you know Zoom, but just a few housekeeping tips. If you have any questions on this topic or to our guests, use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. We want to use that just to isolate the questions from the chat so that we can go to it at the end of the show. We've got 15 minutes or so, maybe 10 minutes of Q&A. So if there's any specific questions you want answering, make sure you log it in there rather than pop it into chat, because we're going to miss it as it flies through. Okay, so today the topic is how do we use automation to scale your team? Tripad, of course, Tripad Grow will focus particularly on the most common form of in-house recruitment, which is when you've got a small team, maybe 1, 2, 3 people that has to handle the entire thing for a small to medium business. How does that group of people, or sometimes even the solo recruiter, start getting on with becoming hyper efficient with technology when you've got everything else on your plate as well? That's the topic of today. I'm going to go and get into this chat in a minute. Let's introduce our guest firstly. Sam, wonderful to see you on screen. Can you tell us quickly who you are, what it is you do?
Yeah, I'm Sam, product manager at Tripad, with a focus on making things easier for everyone, really. So cutting out all of the unnecessary processes, adding automation, and in the future, the use of AI to make everyone's life easier and a really good candidate experience as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And it'd be great to get your input, because I know you speak to a lot of customers as well to see what the demand is from their side on a core product like this. So yeah, excellent stuff. And we have Neil Ray here as well. Neil, can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Sure thing. So I'm the founder and managing director of Livera Group. We have a group of recruitment firms that focus on tech, hospitality, mining, predominantly in those kind of spaces, and private equity. I guess I've got a software development background. So for my sins, I was a software engineer before going into recruitment. No idea why, but it's kind of stuck for the last 18 years. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And Neil, you've got some great experience of kind of performing these types of automations in your own business, which is something I'm looking forward to hearing more about a bit later. Okay, let's go to you first, Sam, though. So you're speaking with a bunch of customers. They may be using your sort of Tripad Grow right now. What kind of things are they asking of you, like feature requests? Are there anything particular that seems to be a trend where you can spot it as a product manager and say, you know what, this seems to be quite a common request from the customer base. It's clear that expresses there's a workflow problem or an inefficiency that they're hoping to fix.
Yeah, I think reviewing. So a lot of our customers with the smaller teams are getting lots and lots of applicants in for the jobs, and it's very difficult to review them all and to go through that, and the need for automation there, maybe thresholds on screening questions and funneling the candidates into groups based on their suitability for the role is one of the main things that comes up. And also the whole approval. So quite often these smaller teams do have to go out to other people within the organization to get approval. So that does seem to be quite a sticking point. And then I think the last thing would be making sure that things are easy for the hiring managers who may only come into the system every now and again to actually get what they need out of it without there being too many options and it being too complicated. So really just seeing what they need to see in a really clear and understandable way.
Yeah, really interesting. I think all those three things are very common. I mean, firstly, the high applicant flow. I think everyone's had experience of that, haven't we? I mean, folks, let me know. Have you had like an insane amount of applicants for your jobs, and is that now a problem? I mean, I'm hearing people getting, hundreds of applications within 24 hours. It's like overwhelming. If you've got your own email address there, as sort of on the end of the ad, that's like your inbox going to be nuked. So when you have that volume of candidates, like I think that tells us obviously the market is not particularly good for job seekers. Obviously, a lot of people on the market a long time. Also, people that are hyperactive. The ones that are active, they know they need to apply more. They feel they need to apply more. People who aren't sort of who are in work, maybe a little bit more. Okay, I'll keep an eye out, and they add to the mix. And then you have potentially people using technology to increase their apply rate. We hear about tools like AI mass apply and stuff like this. I mean, it tells you what it does on the tin. It's like there to try and get you from 10 applications a week to 100, and 100 applications to 1,000. So pretty soon we're going to be overwhelmed. So we need technology to intercept that. I think that's a very good starting point. In terms of the internal side, Sam, you're talking about putting filters in, or maybe make the advert sort of so they don't go straight to the inbox. There's a block. There's another phase that applicants have to go through. I remember back in the day, I used to, for high volume roles, and if it was a graduate entry, I'd kind of hit them with an async video interview invite to say, okay, you got to record 60 seconds or whatever, and that will winnow things down. And then there's other techniques to do that processing as well. Sam, is there anything in the pipeline that customers can expect that you're going to put in? I mean, have you made a product decision on that?
Yeah, for what we're looking at the moment is skills matching. So making sure that we are pointing out from the system the candidates that meet the skills. So the recruiter says what skills they've got, and then we work with the candidate to get them to list out their skills. And I think that will be, we'll be using suggested skills. So you're a PHP and Java developer, do you know Git, that kind of thing. So, and using AI to help the candidates give a really good picture of what their skills are. I personally am not very good at talking about myself or, sort of bigging myself up. And I think a lot of people are like that. Women especially are less likely to go for a role if they don't think that they've got all of the skills, where actually they may well have. So I think one of the things that we're going to implement is a really good job to candidate skills match, and then be able to say, this candidate's got this amount of skills. Doesn't mean just because you don't hit that 100% that you're not going to be suitable, but just make it really easy for the recruiter to say, right, these are the skills that I need the candidate to have. These are the skills that I would like them to have. These are the optional skills. And then be able to say, this candidate's got all of what you want. Maybe you should reach out to them. And they may already be within your, within what we call your talent search, so your talent bank. So it might be that you can save money on having to go out to market with the role, because you've got people just sat there who've applied for a different role in the past, who've got everything that you need. And in that case, you go, you create your job. If we can suggest a candidate that's got everything that ticks all of the boxes with the skills and other things that are needed, you could just go, straight to hire without that whole lengthy advertising process.
Yeah, of course, like reactivating candidates that you already have in the system. That's like one of the key things recruiters have failed to do, but maybe technology can really help us with this. Neil, go to you on this. I mean, is that something you've explored, like reactivating a database? Because you're a recruiter, you're still a recruitment agent. You've obviously got 500,000 records plus in some sort of database, probably multiple databases, but it's like so hard to actually extract or retrieve that information. Have you discovered some sort of external method or external tool that can help you go through that, or has that not been something that you've dealt with?
I think you have to kind of also, when you're talking about candidate outreach, you have to kind of differentiate between the different types of candidates. So, I mean, if you're talking about temporary workers, because there's different types of recruitment, right? Everyone's doing their own kind of markets. I think what you were talking about, I was kind of in my head, I was thinking about how you can go straight to hire would probably work really well for, you know, temporary workers, maybe where there's kind of not as much required, or there isn't in as much behind the scenes behind the CV that you can kind of just find out really quickly if someone's got the skill or not got the skill. So there's a lot of stuff like that which you can use to kind of, but at the end of the day, it's all data dependent, right? So
Yeah.
the problem I've always found with CRMs and all the, like Hung said, the databases that you have, and even myself and my company, it's only as good as as what you put into it. And recruiters are notoriously bad at admin and keeping stuff up to date and putting the right data in, and they kind of jump around. They kind of jump around between different sets of kind of different coding practices, etc., or use a parsing tool, and it just gets really, really messy. So, to answer your question, I have experimented with stuff like that, and the only reason it hasn't worked as well, Hung, is because it's the data that's in the systems that hasn't been enriched enough to allow us to kind of automate or kind of find the people quickly.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem is that the recruiters put the responsibility on themselves to actually do the admin. And I think everyone who's watching this will know, if you're told to do admin, no matter whether the agency side or in-house, it's not going to work. You need to find motivation. Some of the techniques I've explored of not me personally, but speaking to other businesses and other functions, is that you've got to find a way to get the candidate to do it. Can you find a way for the candidate to self-update and motivate the candidate to do that? And this could be super low-fi. It could simply be, back in the old days, you just send them an email message and ping them and get them to do it. But I think we're getting more sophisticated. We're getting more sophisticated with nurturing techniques, using CRM type techniques internally to do that talent kind of relationship management. And now the next generation of doing this will be, of course, using technology, using AI even more. So in other words, can you use artificial intelligence to really help stimulate the candidate? So imagine if you had an AI operating across your internal database, but they could kind of recognize when let's say the last time someone has interacted with that record, the last time a hiring manager or a recruiter in your business is actually connected with that person. Oh, if it's more than 6 months, we probably need to give this candidate some sort of ping. But rather than get a human being to do it, you can get a bot to do that. And the bot might just be, it's not, are you looking? It's like, hey, here's some more information that's suitable for your needs, given what we know about your background, your data, just to keep that sort of flow going. So I think it's going to be some interesting tools coming out. I'm pretty certain all ATSs will start building towards this end, because there's so much data held in recruitment functions that could be so valuable. And we know it's a lot easier to recruit people that have already been pre-acquired anyway, because they already know the brand, they've gone into your system in some way, likely they've had some sort of engagement with you before. So it's much easier to reactivate them than it is to go fishing from a completely cold sort of surface. So there are tools out there, but I think they're quite heavyweight. They probably will sit in the ATS, I think, unless you use a big third-party tool, which in our sort of imagination, a single recruiter in a 250, 500 person business will have no business using at this point, because that's too large a thing.
Yeah, Hung, I was going to say, if I can interject just for a sec, that the other answer to the question as well, and the reason why I haven't experimented a lot with it, is because a lot of the CRMs do have inbuilt functionality to nurture your own candidates and your own candidate pool. I mean, I've not seen anything with a conversational bot just yet. It's mostly preset kind of triggers or preset automations. But we all know it takes a while, for the industry to catch up to everything. I do see that kind of being a thing within the CRMs, where they just kind of implement a bot type situation where, and it will be conversational as well, where you're constantly nurturing your own database and finding out the up-to-date information. But to say something a little bit more out there, and this is an out there opinion, I do think that could be going towards where people are just really predominantly going to the one place they know that candidates do keep their stuff up to date, and it's LinkedIn, right? So, a client said to me once when I was bidding for work, what's the size of your database? And I'm comparing that to the other recruiters. I'm like, well, you've got the same database as I do. It's called LinkedIn. It's not a secret. Everyone's out there. It's just about how you engage and how you kind of nurture and how you contact these people and get them out to the front, get them responding. and then how you treat them from that point on. So we might even get to the point where we're just going direct to LinkedIn. But again, I know that's a bit out there, for the conversation.
No, I don't think that's. I think actually recruiters probably already do that, because they understand that the database they have internally is actually a bit moribund and it's out of date. And it's exactly those reasons why recruiters go into LinkedIn, because they trust the data currency more there. And also why they advertise. They advertise the job even though there may be candidates sitting in the database, because at least the people who are applying for the job, they're active. And that was basically a quicker way to get candidates than actually going through however many, thousands of records that, maybe broken, maybe out of date, or people who, didn't want to be there, et cetera, et cetera. We do have to find a way to refresh that data though, because there's a GDPR issue, of course, we know about, but there's also hidden gold there. I see it very much as like, and I hope that people don't take this the wrong way, but I see this very much like mobile phone. You change your mobile phone, you chuck it away, or you resell it, and it goes into a landfill, doesn't it? And there's like apparently like second biggest gold deposit anywhere is actually in mobile phones that are in landfills, because we've chucked it away. And we just need to find a way to retrieve that information and processing it. And I think that's basically what moribund candidate data is. I'm very hopeful that we'll see technology that's going to help us do that, because it might mean we need to advertise less, which I think all of us would want to do. And it will mean that we don't need to dive into the open water of LinkedIn for all the time, which we do need to do. But every other recruiter is there, so it's like, okay, we just like into the teeth of competition there. Okay, let's move on to another use case that Sam you mentioned. And it's related to the last thing. Too many ad response, applicant flow too high. What are we going to do about it? Yes, we can put these barriers in, but is there any automation or tooling that can help us reduce a number of candidates? Neil, you got any thoughts on this? Have you tried anything?
So you automation and tooling to reduce the number of candidates that in terms of what the applications that are coming in, or
no, I guess reduce is probably the wrong word. Let me rephrase. So in other words, you've got to process a large volume of candidates that have come in through an application, through an advert, let's say, and you're thinking, okay, I can't read 1,000 sort of CVs. It's impossible. Is there any tooling out there that can kind of move us faster in this?
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. In the markets I operate in, they're high level roles with kind of talent short markets, and that's why we command the fees. But, and I wish that was my problem, because I think it would be easier to deal with. And the way I would kind of deal with that is I would leverage the OpenAI API. Most people can afford, the very low cost that is, and I would connect that up to the data source where the applications are coming through. I would feed. Now, look. No one has their own AI right now, so I'm going to ignore that, because I understand that the be-all and end-all is not ChatGPT or Bard or anything like that. But at the moment, if you're standalone and you're just trying to get to grips and get involved, then I think you have to use those ready-made AI tools at the moment that are out there. So I would connect the APIs. There are pre-built solutions actually. Just to have a caveat, I think Hire Easy is one of them for small businesses. But what I would do is I connect them up to the data source, feed ChatGPT or Bard or whatever the job description, and say, this is what I'm looking for, and then get the applications running through that and get that to sort it out for you the other side, and say, look, these are the top, and you could specify as well, I want the top 10, I want the top 20, I want the top 50. If you want to jack that up a little bit and push that even further, you could even connect that data, so you can feed the top CVs automatically through a campaigning tool. So you can push the data into a campaigning tool into your CRM, or you can push it through instantly, or whatever campaigning tool you're using. Thoughtwell is another one, and automatically get them campaigned out to you. So that entire process can become entirely hands-off until someone actually replies. So the only thing you should see after you put the advert out at this end, the only thing you should see at this end is the responses from the interested, relevant, and top candidates. I don't know if that answers the question. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. I mean, and actually Trang in the chat has talked exactly about these tools. Hire Easy, Sourcewell wasn't mentioned, but it's in that milieu. Essentially, these are tools where Essentially, we don't want to handle a large volume manually, and in fact, it's impossible to do if you count the number of clicks you need to make. Even if you give it a 1 second scan read, 1,000 messages, 1,000 applications per day, or whatever it is, you simply can't do it. So you need some solution. And what you're saying, Neil, is that actually you can use consumer grade stuff. You can just buy a ChatGPT premium package, connect it in with the source of the flow, and then one technique that I've tried is that you can actually get your job description as the feed source data and say, look, we need candidates that are going to match as closely to this as possible.
Exactly.
Can you rank order the first 1,000 that have come through? And then you could say, look, we want the first 20 to be piped into some CRM. Or at that point, maybe you want to interject and you want to send an outreacher or whatever it is. So whatever it is, the tooling is available to try and crunch this down, even though it takes a bit of jiggery pokery if you want to do it, I guess, on the cheap. But that's the trade-off, isn't it?
That's it.
You can buy a big tool that's going to cost you a fortune to do it, or you can basically get a comparable outcome with just a bit more plugging in and taping together, which a lot of these tools are designed for. What are your thoughts on this, Sam? I mean, these tools kind of exist outside of the sort of an ATS at this point. Do you see them like is that a good thing in the sense that you want them to this process to exist outside of a CRM and outside of an ATS, should I say? And Trapper Grow should only handle, if you like, applicants that are interested and validated. Or do you see it actually? No, we want to push our a window, if you like, the sort of our scope out into this CRM bit and closer to the market, so to say, in that regard.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we want to include, and I think it's really relevant to capture that information upfront and then to be able to display whatever the top 10 candidates that are suitable, and then be able to go out to them. And I think it's just around focusing. It's around cutting out the ones that aren't suitable, who may, and again, I think it comes to talent pooling. These candidates may be suitable for something else in the future, but knowing who you need to focus on, sort of your gold medalists, your silver medalists, that kind of, to use a bit of an outdated phrase, but yeah, to use those to be able to focus on the ones who are these are the candidates that I need to be spending my time on, and they may not be suitable, and this is my these are my 11 to 20 who will be my sort of fallback. But I think the use of AI of this for this kind of thing is really good. AI, all right, it's only going to be as good as it's programmed, but it cuts out that bias. It cuts out that looking at someone's application and having a gut feel about how they've said something as to what gender they are or whatever. I think it's just going to, providing it's programmed right and providing you using the right tool, I think it can be really, really powerful in blindly saying, these are your top candidates. These are the ones that we recommend you review. You've got all your others. And then, I think it's going to be a much fairer process for everyone. And obviously cut out a lot of time for the recruitment teams.
I think just to chime in there as well, I think the common mistake I see when I'm talking to people about AI automation, because I have these conversations now on a daily basis, and I think the common thing that I think you're absolutely right, Sam, it's going to be able to cut a lot of that out because it doesn't have an opinion, right? It's kind of just factual. It's based on logic and data that's being supplied to it. But what your point made me think about was the common mistake people are making is they're kind of going, ooh, AI, it can do it for me. I'll just tell it what to do and it just knows what to do. That's the wrong way to think about it. That's what's going to get people into trouble. That's what it's going to end up with, poor content or poor emailing back or whatever it is that you're using it for. I think what they need to understand is that AI and machines in general, they are there to learn from you about what is right or wrong, how you want it to be, and then speed it up or make it more efficient or pull the data in that's required to personalize something. But you can't just go write me a business development email to this company. Well, you can, but it doesn't know what the right type of email should look like. It's just going to do the best it can from whatever data source it has. I think the point I want to get across here is that you need to teach it what is a good email. find something that's worked for you in your business, show it to the AI, and then say, right now, I'm going to give you loads of data, loads of email addresses, loads of LinkedIn profiles. Go ahead and use that kind of structure and personalize and start, and then you can start to kind of use the power. So I just thought it was an important point to make. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think that we can use AI to speed up things. We can use AI to cut out a lot of manual work and to maybe make these recommendations, but we should never use it to make a decision. It shouldn't be there to, you know, this is the only candidate that I'm going to look at because this is the only one that ticks all the boxes, because there are nuances around everybody and everything that we do. So I think, yes, you can help me write some content, but I'm probably going to want to review that content. I'm never going to want to put something out. So we're using a new product management tool where our internal users can create a new, they can add a new idea, and it's got AI. And the first thing that I said to him was, do not just put in a title, press AI and submit it, because I'm going to refuse that, because it's going to be wrong. We need to teach it. You need to update it. You need to submit it. And then it needs to learn more about our company, more about the way we work, the terms that we use by altering it. Don't just think that I can just put in, I want it to do X, and it will write a load of functional requirements for you, and they're going to be spot on. They're not. It helps you write it, but you've still got to review it. You've still got to make sure that you're. We're always going to need people. We're always going to need it. I think it's just there just to make things more efficient on the back end. Get rid of all of the things that we all hate doing. The admin work that we hate doing, teach it how we want it, let it spit your reports out, and then we can spend more time doing the things that make us better, really, you know, that will make our teams better, will make our lives better, and will hopefully make hiring processes better as well.
All right, so there's some really interesting comments put into the chat here, and I want to address a few of them. So Craig, great point. He's saying, look, there's great value here, but there's a danger that these automations just keyword buzzword picking. I think he is absolutely correct. The AI is not going to have a huge amount of context. It's going to be, so the context the AI has is what we've trained it on. And yeah, to a very large degree, it's text-based. So far it's text-based. So it will be looking at keyword frequency and stuff like this, which we all look at this. Of course, that's not a good way. You're not reading the subtext of it. I think he's correct. But at the same time, I also think that's how human beings make that early decision.
I was just going to say the same thing, Hung. Yeah, I don't see. I mean, what's the difference between? I've had this conversation before, right? And I think I said it in my talk at the expo a few months ago. Anything that you can train a person to do, because people operate based on input and logic and output, right? I know we're not machines and we feel at the same time. And okay, that is discounted. You can't have a gut feel about a CV, but more often than not, they're using exactly the same methods, just different. They've probably got more experience than the AI or whatever you're using. And that's why the essences or the emphasis is on teaching the AI your experience of how to look at something and judge it and constantly iterate it and make it learn. So when it spits out it's wrong, you say, this is why it's wrong. And then it kind of goes again. But it's no different to a person in that regard, in my opinion, or a junior recruiter or resourcer.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of people say, look, AI, you should treat it very much as an intern or a junior person. You know, it's not going to be an expert that immediately does everything for you, but it's a highly efficient, highly intelligent intern. But it needs guidance and instruction. So yeah, I think the central point that Craig mentioned is correct, but I think that's a criticism that slides into human analysis of CV data as well. We do keyword match, even though we pretend not to. So yeah, I don't think that's isolated into AI alone. Okay, Raymond's also mentioned something quite interesting here. What happens when a candidate is AI enabled themselves? So they're talking about, okay, we're doing all of this matching. There's loads of candidates. We've set up an automation process where we're looking at best fit CVs to our job description. However, there's candidates out there that have also got access to AI and also got access to our job description, and they've reconstituted their CV so that it is best fit. How do we handle that? I mean, we can't, can we? We just have to process.
That's a great question, I think. I think my take on that is exactly what Raymond's put into the aftermath. Sorry, the second part of his comment is, yeah, I think the pre-screening part is going to become crucial. And I'm one of the people where I'm saying, look, I don't know about how long this is going to take, but it's certainly going to get to a point where every single CV coming through is exactly right for the job. And the recruiter's like, well, hang on a second, for exactly this reason, right? So the only way to ascertain if the person is right or not for the job, or is better than, say, another candidate, is to engage and ask questions. And I think I'm one of the people that thinks that that screening is going to be done by AI as well. So they'll have an engagement meeting, a pre-screen meeting, where the AI is having a conversation with the person, and it's a bit more fluid, and they're asking specific questions, and then all of that's recorded, fed into some sort of analysis system, and then it's kind of spitting out a recommendation. And then, of course, the human has to check the quality of what's happening. So it's like, okay, you've recommended this person. Let me go and check and see if I agree. And then obviously you get a tick box, and then you get more and more confident. That's kind of where I see that going.
And in the interim, though, I think this is a big deterrent to advertising jobs.
Yeah.
I think if we see like a mass adoption of AI-enabled job applicants, which by the way you can easily do it. Again, these are consumer grade stuff. It's not software engineering geniuses that have to hack something together. It's like here's the product. So I think it may well be. I think Neil, you're probably right. We'll have additional technology, additional tooling to sift out the AI assisted candidates, so to say, because we want to get to the human as soon as possible. But I think in the interim, we're probably going to be deterred from advertising. In which case, we have to go back to sourcing. We have to go back to our database we talked about earlier. We have to do all of those things, because actually we'd be terrified to advertise anything that gets, an overwhelming pool of applicants. So yeah, it's definitely a big challenge for us going forward. Okay, cool. Folks, quick question to you guys, who's watching this. What area of your current workflow are you thinking about? You know what? I am literally going to try and investigate a way to automate or to use technology to reduce this or even remove it from your flow. What is it? Is it job out composition? Is it message composition? Is it interview scheduling? Is it handling candidates? What is it? One thing that you're thinking about now, I want to get rid of. Put it in the chat. Let's have a kind of a word cloud, so to say, to see what we're going to come up with there. Okay, whilst people are populating this, let's have a think about some other use cases where you did get efficiencies. Neil, let's have you lead with this.
Sure.
In your business, can you identify the one automation that you think has saved you most time? So the thing that's given you greatest satisfaction from all of the experiments that you've done in that 6-month period where you're down tools, where you've implemented one thing, you thought, you know what, that's actually been the one that's made the biggest difference.
Wow, what a question. Okay, so hands down, I think for me, it's got to be the lead gen process, so getting clients to come to us, and that's done in twofold. So for me, of course, I've developed my own conversational AI that can make phone calls to bring appointments to us, right? So that's massive for me because it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get sick, it's efficient, it continues to hit the phones and have these conversations with people. So I think that's a massive thing for me. Moving back to something that's a bit more kind of in line with other people out there who something they could do and something a bit more in line with the market, I would say automating your business development machine, your lead machine is probably is the biggest thing for me as well. I think most recruiters, solid recruiters who know their markets well, even with 2 years experience, give them a job, more often than not, they'll know how to fill it. Even if they don't have any tools and automation, they know how to fill a job. I think the key part is getting a committed client to work on a job. So I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I'm interested to know about this phone calling business because I think that does apply also to, maybe candidate outreach as well. Because obviously you're automating something that feels like it should be manual. So can you take us through a little bit about how you actually get to the point where you've got some bot making calls? I mean, this doesn't sound like it's
I do, yeah. I actually demoed it. It was quite brave. I got on the stage and demoed it at my talk, and I didn't know what it was going to do because the fact is, as I said, you're feeding it information, but it's like a person. It's not thinking, but it's applying logic to different situations. So I didn't necessarily know what direction it was going to take the phone call, but thankfully that call went all right. What I've been doing since then is I've been constantly tweaking the code, tweaking the emotiveness of it, the pauses, all the rest of it, and I think I have got it to the point perfect almost. for two scenarios. So one is getting through to the gatekeeper, because of course most of the numbers that are available out there, they're not going to get you through to a decision maker. You need something or someone, and I think that takes up a lot of recruiters' time. I know cold calling was like, oh no, it's like the taboo word. No one does that anymore. But it started to come back last year. And in fact, if you didn't pick up the phone last year, you'd be hard pushed to get business on, if I'm really honest, on top of all the automations and everything else, because the market caught up with everybody and everyone was doing it. So, it's almost like it was someone who phoned a client they'd be like, oh, I haven't heard from a recruiter in ages, but they'd start talking to you, right? So I've got this gatekeeper one that gets me through. Once it gets through, it does 300 dials every minute, by the way. And once it gets through, it just puts the call through to myself, and then I could just talk to the decision maker. If I'm busy, it will go through to a hiring manager, emotive, or what do you want to call that? Engine, if you like, call it an engine, and it would have a conversation with the hiring manager to convert them to have an appointment with me. So if I'm not about and I'm on holiday or I'm just busy on another phone call or something, it would divert to that, and I would almost argue I've got it more or less perfect.
There's people listening to this and they're horrified. Say, "What, 300 calls? What's going on here?" So take us through this. Like, what technology is this? Is this something you built yourself, or is it a product that actually people can buy? Like, pay this back.
So it's a bit like everything I do. So it's a mixture of the two. So some stuff, because look, the thing is, I haven't coded in a long time, so I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody that I've coded this from scratch. That would be lying, right? But it's like anything in my business. I'm using little aspects of different parts of technology and bringing them together, and then I was training it. And I think this is where you're going to get ahead. The recruitment firms that are going to win in the future are going to be the ones that can process data the fastest. It's not going to be about I have this person, that person, this database. It's not. It's going to be about how quickly can you get the data from here and extract the information that you need to make it relevant for a job or a client faster than everybody else. So I think with the whole training aspect of it and me, I guess, imparting my, somewhat 18 years of experience into this AI, that's how I'm kind of getting ahead, and it's going to become a recruitment specific tool. But it's built from like different aspects, different technologies. Like there's an NLP engine in there. There's me kind of training it. There's some code to tell it the logic of what to do when certain things are heard, and the voice is programmed and put into the system as well. So I can change the language, change the voice, the accent, stuff like that. So without going into too much detail.
No, there's interesting tooling that does this, and it's very avant-garde. But I think from a agency point of view, definitely you can see the value in business development. From a in-house point of view, or even a sourcing point of view, you can imagine this being useful if you're hiring for people that are generally still phone-based. Like, we were talking about hiring miners just the other day. I'm in Colorado at the moment right now, so quite a mining sort of territory. So okay, those people are not going to respond to email, but they do have phones. So you need to find a way to efficiently reach out to them. And if you're just dialing sort of yourself, you're never going to do it. You just don't have the time. So you need to find a different type of solution. And what you're talking about here, I think, does kind of make sense. Very, very interesting. And by the way, thanks for people who contribute to this. Some people have said lead gen is an issue. Message composition is also something that people are interested in. I think that's probably the most common way in which AI is being used right now, isn't it? Like like basic stuff has message composer in it. Email has message composer in it, and LinkedIn has message composer in it. So probably that's the predominant way that recruiters are using AI right now, along with, I guess, job description generation, I guess, would
job
be a
ad
big
writing, content creation, so emails. But I cannot tell you how both funny I find it and how common it is to see things like in the vibrant field of recruitment or in the ever-changing land of talent acquisition. I can't stress enough that people do need to be careful about the way they prompt to get these things done, because I can tell just by, I've got a scraper that feeds me information from LinkedIn all the time, right? In terms of what's going on and what people are saying and stuff out there, sentiments about recruitment. And I'm seeing exactly the same words, sentences popping up, because I think people are just going, write me a post on this, thanks. And then they just post it. And they need to kind of stay away from that when it comes to job ad writing, content creation, because people can tell. And it's kind of, not only is it inauthentic, it's not going to get you what you want, right? It's not going to attract the right type of person.
You know, this actually leads us to a very interesting segue, because what is over automation and what is overly kind of counterproductive use of AI generated content, for instance. A quick message to the crowd here. Have you come across AI generated messages, comments, or content directed at you? And if so, how did that make you feel? And do you know how you spotted that? Like, what caused you to be suspicious of it? Because I think, you know, I'd be interested to know like what the reaction is, and what is it instinctive that we feel this is not a human message, or is it something that's you know, very obvious that they've got incorrect? Really like to see what people might say on this. Go to you on this, Sam. How do we moderate it from a product point of view? Because we want to provide the functionality. I think it's perfectly fine to create a AI message composer. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But how do we, is there a way that product makers can kind of moderate the potential abuse of it? I mean, well, we don't want someone pressing play on like, you know, 10,000 sort of AI generated messages and just blast out. I mean, that's generally not what we want to see. Is there a way we can do it, or is it kind of, look, it's a trade-off?
I think it's going to be a trade-off. I think it's going to be educating individuals not to do things like that. One of the things we want to put in the platform are for candidates applying is an indicator to say we believe to a you know, high percentage that this application has been AI generated. We're not going to do anything with that, because I do think there are going to be times and there are going to be individuals who need AI to help them apply, to help them get themselves forward. People who maybe have dyslexia or things like that, who need this. This is going to be a game changer. This is a game changer for them. So I wouldn't want to do anything that stopped an application coming through that was AI assisted. But I do think it's up to people not to just let this do their jobs. And I know everybody wants an easier life, so it would be really easy to let them do it. But I do think we need to be responsible for what we're sending out, and we need to take that personal responsibility on. So I think we can say, "Are you sure you want to send this message to 1,000 people?" But if they say yes, then I think that, you know, there's not really much we can do to stop it.
It's probably be moderated by ultimately the cost, isn't it? Because it's not cost free to send message that AI compose. So perhaps in the end, the sort of the market economy will moderate it somewhat, I hope. But yeah, it's going to be, we're heading into a very interesting world. I was talking about this in the event yesterday about how AI will impact candidate engagement from what we know about candidate engagement. And we come up with some really interesting ideas as to how you know, in an AI dominated world, someone who can clearly signal that it is a human message will win out, even if that message is technically flawed. So, for instance, we talked about, hey, you know, a spelling mistake actually might turn into something that's a positive, because AI won't make the error. So if I make a spelling mistake deliberately, then, you know, I'm basically saying that I'm a human. I have stopped responding to people with caps lock, so I've literally write everything in lowercase. Not only because that's I'm super lazy, but also because it's like, obviously AI won't do that. It will correctly capitalize for you. So I'm trying to say future comms might end up being a little bit more scrappy, a little less perfect, but less perfect means more human. And I do wonder whether that's going to create a bit of an advantage for some of the more, shall we say, more unusual personalities out there. So I think AI makes everyone a bit more vanilla. You know, if it's very bland, it's very in the middle of the road, then yeah, we're just gonna probably start labeling that as AI assisted, AI generated. But someone who's a bit, I don't know, ruder, you know, a bit more brusque, or witty, or in some other way, that is just, you know, you wouldn't imagine AI producing it. I think we'll end up, that person will get a decent response rate, because it's like, oh, you know what, at least it's a human being. I want to get to the human being and not have to speak to a bot necessarily, you know. So so yeah, very interesting.
I think we are definitely getting to a place, or heading to a place, where we have AI to police AI, because, and that's what people are going to want, right? They're going to, it's a bit like, I was having the conversation with a company owner who's doing program around NLP and sentiment analysis and everything just to detect plagiarism, which is also a massive problem, right? And we're moving away from recruitment for a second, because you can plagiarize CVs according to job description. Now, I guess that is a form of plagiarism in itself, but there's a bigger problem with the education system, and there's loads of companies trying to address that, where it's AI kind of detecting AI. And I think that's where it's going to go. It's going to flag up and say, look, be careful, this one looks like it was generated. And I think that AI would easily spot that something's been generated. Well, not easily, but it will be able to spot it. I think the other thing, Hung, going back to your point just now, is it's the emphasis on feeding this AI. I think we are going to get to the point where people will just have their own sort of AI tooling, if you like, that's capturing and learning from them. The idea is that it's augmenting and making more efficient the stuff that you want it to do, but do it your way, like sounding like you. I think that's where it will end up, but I just don't know how long we'll be from that. Because at the moment, like you rightly pointed out, it's all very new, and then secondly, it's all consumer available, and people are just diving into it and throwing it out there, and everything just looks the same, like the funny post that we talked about.
It's happened already. I don't know whether people saw this. I'll stick this in the Recruitment Brain Food newsletter on Sunday, but Reid Hoffman, who's the founder of LinkedIn, of course, has trained a digital twin that speaks like Reid Hoffman, talks like Reid Hoffman, and actually the digital twin interviewed him. So there's a recorded interview of AI Reid Hoffman and human Reid Hoffman talking to each other, unscripted. And we're not far. I mean, it's obviously Reid Hoffman. He's a billionaire and he's got loads of support and all the rest of it. But we're not far away from this being a reality. It'd be a commercial product. I'm sure it'd be a situation where, we can imagine, if you've got a hero CEO, for instance, let's imagine Steve Jobs. What if he was your outreacher and you're doing recruiting? What was he? What if he was the primary person? You're gonna be arrested and think, "Good Lord, I need to pay attention here." So it's going to change how we think about recruitment, because if you do have someone who has a very powerful personal brand in business, that is a very strong recruitment asset for you. And maybe recruiters end up stepping away from the front a little bit and start, okay, what are our best recruitment assets, and start deploying them to get the better conversions. So yeah, our job is definitely going to become more interesting. But I do think there's urgency to implement as well. Let's move on to that, because I want to talk about sort of what the kind of implementation challenges might be. Joanna, I'm going to get to you in a minute with your question. Folks, we amazingly have only got 10 minutes left. So if you have any questions, use the Q&A right now, and we'll get to them towards the end. But talk to me about implementation challenges, like what causes recruiters to struggle to move from, yeah, it's a great idea, to I'm actually doing it. Sam, let's go to you. You speak to a lot of customers all the time with product. I get the feeling sometimes they're waiting for a solution provider that just deploys a service to them whilst they get on with business as usual. Do you get that sense generally? Is that the default sort of setting for recruiters? Like they're waiting for just an off-the-shelf solution that they can turn the key on?
I think it's a sort of 50-50 split. We have some some customers who want things to be working in a very, very specific way for them, and are very reluctant to change processes and things like that. So they want us to build the system to their current processes. And then there are some others who are more than happy to embrace anything that is going to make their lives easier. I think we've got a real split of what I want it my way, or I will be happy to look at what you're offering, and adopt that. And it's probably the flexibility in recruitment processes does seem to be something that there isn't a lot of. A lot of people just have done it like this since day one and want to continue. So then you add in the tools. They want these new automations and tools, not to actually change their processes. So there's no real benefit in them. So that's one of the challenges that we have, is around we want to make things better, but you've got to adopt these things. You've got to move forward and look at changing your processes, and which is very difficult to do when you're a single recruiter trying to manage a load of jobs. But I do think with some things it would be worth the pause or make small incremental steps to change.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, basically, once sort of onboarded onto a process, it's actually very painful to switch away
Yeah,
from it. It's called switching costs. It's like sometimes you've got an inefficient technology, you know there's a better product out there, but actually the pain of switching to that is more is too great for the value you think you're going to get from the new thing. So you stay with it. It's like using Apple versus Mac or something, Apple versus Windows, or Windows versus Google apps or whatever it might be. You might know that the other side has a better product, but if you have to relearn everything to get there, it's like, oh, that's a lot of pain. Maybe that's one of the big stoppers. Neil, let's go to you. I think that's probably true in your case, wasn't it? Because you had to
Yeah.
literally stop, and there wasn't a situation where you could kind of continue operations as well as implement these changes. Tell us a little about how you came to that realization, Neil.
I mean, so I could, but it just wouldn't have been it wouldn't been very efficient. It wouldn't have been optimal to do that and still achieve the right outcome. I've got a couple of thoughts on this. I think myself included, I think recruiters in general, that it's an interesting industry because I speak to obviously people who are selling into the industry with their technology, products, services, whatever. And recruiters are generally the hardest to kind of convince to make a jump and try something out, try a new piece of tech or try this or try that. And I think that is because we're in a saturated industry of products and services that are being thrown into them at any given moment. That kind of makes them a little bit. And the other thing is they're salespeople themselves. So they're automatically, we are instinctively wary of someone trying to sell us. And that it's not really got the value. The other part is that you've got this kind of FOMO effect, right? You're like, well, once I'm in, I'm in. And what if it doesn't do what they say it's going to do? And then I have to go and try something else. And it's actually really hard to evaluate the technology and keep your business going, keep the billings coming in, and it gives that technology a really good chance of testing out whether it's good for you or not. And that's what I went through. And I just found that I was confused. I found there was a lot out there. I was wary of people claiming to have done this, this, and this. And it's really easy to claim stuff nowadays, right? You don't actually know how to verify it, so you just have to do it. And then on top of that, you need to have time to do it properly. But then your billings are suffering. So yeah, you're right. In the end, I just went, you know what? I'm just going to stop. It was not very good at the beginning of last year anyway. All of my clients coinciding with the market, not recruiting at the same time. So I was like, you know what? It's easy to manage those 1 or 2 vacancies a month or whatever it was. I'll just stop and just do this full time. So I evaluated basically every technology, every single person that emailed me and said, I can do this. I went, go on, then let's have a go. And I literally became a yes man. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie with Jim Carrey. I just became a yes man. I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And my whole diary was booked with service providers, lead generators, technology that did this, that, and the other. And I tried every single one of them. The other thing I want to say real quick, because I know we're running out of time, I also feel the problem is that the products that providers, they have to build a product, which means you need QA testing, product people like Sam. These are not easy to do. Once you've got your concept and you evaluated and test it against the market, you're then moving in that direction. I think what happens is the bigger they get, the harder it is to move. But the market moves too quick for them, and then it becomes almost kind of saturated and obsolete very quickly. So I think the gap between new technology and that big technology becoming overused or old is getting smaller and smaller, and that's also going to cause a problem for like your smaller recruitment companies.
I think it resonates so much because I actually hear myself being described in both the things you've said. Like I know I'm running an inefficient business process. Loads of operations could be totally automated, but I'm still struggling through it because I haven't found the time, so to say, and I've got to train myself to say actually you've got to create the time because you're getting slower. The world's moving faster,
Yeah.
and if you're not keeping pace with this, you're going to be left behind. It's that straightforward.
Do you know what it is, Hung? You don't have the time to get it wrong. That's the problem. The recruiter doesn't have time for that to go wrong because they've invested in doing something which then they're not doing something that they know works over here. And I think that is it. That's the seesaw that's happening or will happen or does happen. You don't have time to get it wrong. That's the problem. You kind of want someone to go, look, this is what you need to do, bang, and just do it. And it works.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go and do a round robin in a minute when we talk about the final tips and takeaways. But let's deal with let's answer Joanna's question first here. Kind of a classic question. How do you address or mitigate AI biases in HR, considering their propensity to reflect and sometimes exacerbate human biases inherent in their training models? Recent instances that have demonstrated potential to make biased decisions classic Amazon example of using AI, which is trained on previous hires they made, and obviously ended up hiring, way too, basically hired the same template of person that they'd already hired, and it became very skewed towards male. So how do we handle that? Sam, let's go to you directly on this. I'm going to be able to get to Neil with this question. So Sam, what are your thoughts?
I think it comes back down to AI can assist you, but you need to know where you're going to stop using that and start using your emotion and the things you've learned. But again, I think Neil mentioned earlier that AI is only as good as how you train it. So in the Amazon example, it was trained on a very male, previous recruitment, but it's a case of constantly updating, constantly training, constantly looking at where you are. Is this hire the right kind of hire? Yes, right. So that we need to use that model that worked there much better. But then it's a case of in 6 months, you might be completely the other way. So it's a case of, I think it's always going to need you to stop, look, and check that you've not just relied on the system to do it all for you. You're actually making sure that you are using, and you're going to have unconscious bias anyway, everybody does, but just to make sure that you're reviewing the model that's been trained, just to make sure that you're not just going to go from one side, you're not going to go from left to right. And I think that's the only thing you can do. I think AI training AI, AI monitoring AI, is just we're just going to get into a big circle. So, it's always going to need to have people involved. I don't think we could ever stop. I don't think we could ever stop biases full stop. They're always going to be there. So just, keep ourselves involved.
Yeah, and we can also overcorrect with bias correction and go exactly the other way. So, I mean, my instinct on what Joanna mentioned there is, look, you could actually explicitly instruct, like, hard code it in to say, look, apart from all of these other contexts, this is what we want to see. We want to make sure that when you're reviewing these candidates, we need 50-50 gender diversity on this. You can hard code that in, and it will produce those outputs. And then you think, is that a right outcome? Because why is 50-50 the right number? So yeah, it's not an easy one. I think we're going to be wrestling with this forever. It's not like it's a solvable problem, because we're talking about human biases. And when you peel it back, we never make objective decisions, because when we're hiring people for teams and hiring people for companies, those people are going to work in the context of those teams and companies. And that's they're not going into a blank room. They're going into a company, or a team or whatnot. And therefore, all of those opinions are going to be floating around in a happy mush. So yeah, tough one. I think we need to ask the question, right, to ask the question. But I don't think we can be too disappointed if we don't have the immediate answer. Okay, let's go for a final commentary from the panelists here. People listen to this, they want to get into it ASAP. What's the first step that they can take to take it away from just an idea in their mind to actually operationalizing some of the things they want to do and implementing AI? Neil, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to jump in there, because I think something I really want to hit home on this one. Before you do anything with any technology, forget AI, just tech in general, I think the one advice that I can give, and that I will give to people, is take a step back, find out what's working manually first, what's working inside the processes that you're doing at the moment, find any inefficiencies and either improve them or get rid of them. Because just because something is working, then you have to look at the ROI as well. And you might think, do you know what, that works a lot less than what I want it to. Because the danger is that what people do is think AI and tech is the answer, and they pile, not so efficient. So they pile tech to automate already not so efficient processes, and then they get not so efficient or an exasperation of inefficient processes on the other side. So I think the very first step is to figure out what works for you, because remember, the AI is just it's an extension of you, right? Or the tech is an extension of your behavior. So if you're going to teach this how to do things super fast, then you'd rather want it to do what you're doing well, not just everything, right? So you're going to get that kind of variety of results. I think that would be my biggest thing, is in terms of the first step.
Yeah, I love it. You got to audit the system. You got to audit your process, not the system, should I say? And you've got to basically understand what are the effective parts of what you're doing. So have you even done that? I doubt most of us have, because you know, we kind of have subconscious competence at doing the job, and we think, yeah, we just got to get on with it and start you know, digging straight away. But actually, what is the system? What is the process you're using? And get smarter at that.
I think
Sam, I'd love to
psychologically as
go.
well. Oh, sorry. I was just going
No,
to say
no.
psychologically, our nature is that we don't really want to know. That's the problem with an ostrich effect, right? It's like I don't want to look at it because I don't want to know what I'm not doing well or not doing so good. And there's a human nature around that psychologically, which you just don't want to know that stuff. You don't want to admit that stuff
Yeah,
to yourself. That makes it
I
hard.
wonder whether that is true as well. Sam, I'd love to go with you the final comment, but we are out of time. We've just hit the on the hour, so thank you, everyone for watching. Hope you got value from that session. Neil, Ray, wonderful to have your input.
Thank you,
Sam,
mate.
great to see you on screen and giving your input as well. Folks, I think Tripod will be pinging you later with an update. I'm not sure whether we've got any more of these webinars to go. I hope so, but we're going to still keep focusing on producing content for that SMB recruiter. I think we're underserved. We always talk enterprise, we always talk big brand. Actually, 80% of all people doing the job of recruiting are actually doing it often by themselves or with a very small team. And those are the people that I think are a little bit underserved with conversational content like this. Okay, that's about it. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you have a good day, and we'll see you soon.